Hello, I am Song W. Erickson. Welcome to my channel where I talk about whatever's on my mind. And this week, I want to talk about books. At the beginning of the year, I did a video talking about books I want to read in 2026. And I figured now that we're at the halfway point of the year, it seems like as good a time as any to do an update to that video. Before we get started, I haven't been super happy with my last couple videos, which is why I decided that, to mix it up this week, hence why I'm on the other side of the room instead of where I usually film in front of my bed, which means I'm like 1.5 feet away from where I usually record because that's the size of my room. Not all the plushies made it over for this video. If you've seen my other videos, I usually have a row of plushies behind me. Meowless is here because I'm recording this, well, one, because he's in almost all my videos, but mostly because I'm recording this on July 4th, which means the Love and Deep Space fandom is on day, I believe, 5 of boycotting the game. Hashtag Justice for Valko, hashtag Bring Back Valko. I want my wolf boy in the game. And if you don't play the game, none of this will make sense. By the time this video goes up on Wednesday, I'm hoping we will actually have heard something from the studio, which will basically decide whether I keep playing the game going forward. I could have brought Kuromi over with him, because the whole reason I usually put Kuromi next to him is precisely because Kuromi loves hot guys. But we're just gonna say she's over there crying over Valko. She's still on the bed. Okay. Anyway, enough about Love and Deep Space. Let's get to books. Like I said at the beginning of the year, I did a video talking about books I want to read this year, or at least at the time I wanted to read. So we're just gonna update that. You can't see the bottom shelf. Most of that is just art books. The only thing I really want to, well, there's 2 books here that I'm gonna bring up. The first is this was a DNF, hence why I'm just gonna get it out of the way now. This is Phoenix Unbound by Grace Draven, part of her Fallen Empire series. This was one of those books that I bought without doing any research. All I really knew is that there was a witch and there was a gladiator, and I really, really like sexy gladiator fights. If you know me, you know. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So I was kind of excited to read it, and then I actually got into it, and I'm like, oh wait, this world building is miserable. And I can't do it. So I got a few chapters in, and I had to DNF. I did not get far enough in to find a plot or anything. I have no idea, so I can't comment on that. But yeah, that was the main DNF. Then I read, finished, and for the most part enjoyed Wooing the Witch Queen by Stephanie Burgess, which is about a duke who is on the run from his evil father-in-law after his wife died, and he ends up pretending, how do I even put this? Okay, so Duke of one kingdom on the run from evil father-in-law after his wife died, and he ends up going to the witch queen Saskia, hoping for sanctuary, I guess. But she, one, straight up says that she wants to kill him, and she misunderstands, thinking he's a wizard there to help her organize her library. And it's like miscommunication trope taken to the nth degree in a way where it's like, I need... okay, y'all are politicians and you don't know how to have a conversation. Okay. I didn't love it, mostly because, like, I couldn't really take the political intrigue seriously because it felt too light and fluffy. I was expecting a bit more on the political intrigue side, but it was a fun read, and I did enjoy it for the most part. Just, yeah, like I said, the political intrigue felt a little too. The comparison that came to mind was kind of Legally Blonde, but more Legally Blonde 2, where, like, it's political intrigue, but it's cotton candy. Does that make sense? And I was just expecting a little more, so on that front, I was kind of disappointed, but overall, like I said, it was a fun read. Let's see, where do I go next? I have not planned this at all, which for me usually means I'm in trouble. But we're gonna do our best, okay? So, oh yeah, okay, so next I'll talk about the Red River manga. So, Red River manga by Chie Shinohara is the story of a 15-year-old girl from Tokyo named Yuri who is transported to the ancient Hittite Empire. And she's drawn there by the evil witch Queen Nakia, who wants to sacrifice her in a ritual to bring her own son into power, to make him the future king. But Yuri is found by Prince Kail Marsuli. I probably did not pronounce that right. Anyway, the prince takes her into his house and protects her, and they naturally fall in love, while Yuri also gains the reputation as being the incarnation of the goddess Ishtar. Oh my god, I cannot pronounce things today. Yuri gains the reputation, at least the PR reputation, of being the goddess Ishtar. One of the things I really liked about Red River is that, unlike Wooing the Witch Queen, it actually takes its political intrigue seriously. Like, it's not super in-depth, it doesn't get bogged down in it, but it actually flows, and it's like, okay, you have to worry about upsetting these parties, you have to have the people on your side. It, like I said, it doesn't get bogged down in machinations and intrigue, but it makes sense, and I feel like Chie Shinohara actually knew what she was doing when she wrote it, and that was part of why I really enjoyed it. So yes, after 20 years, I finally finished. Oh, I didn't even talk about that. So when I was 14, as I've talked about in previous videos, I got really into manga and anime, but because it was a really religious household, after all the cars are out today, but after a couple years, my mom got really religious and was like, I think manga and anime are demonic, so you're not allowed to watch or read that anymore. So I did not finish Red River at the time when I started reading it. 20 years later, I started from the beginning. I finished it, and I am so happy to have finally been able to finish it. And I finished it the same week they announced the anime. And now I'm recording this video like 3 days before the anime comes out. I don't know how I'm going to watch it because I don't know where I can watch it in the US. I hope I don't have to subscribe to Crunchyroll or something like that. But yeah, I'm very excited for the Red River anime, and I will find some way to watch it. So yes, that is finished, that is off the checklist, and that was totally worth the read for me, in my not so humble opinion. Let's see, where do we go next? I think in my video I also mentioned Red Sonja Consumed by Gail Simone. I don't know if I'm gonna get around to this one. Like, eventually I probably will, but it's very low on my list right now. I've kind of given up on anything Conan the Barbarian related that just isn't Robert E. Howard. I still need to get the third book. I need to get the second book. I have books 1 and 3 of the Del Rey collection of Robert E. Howard Conan stories. I need the second one. So, let's see. Okay, so I'm just gonna go down the list. Okay, so we have Punderworld by Linda Sejic, and I pre-ordered volume 2. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. I pre-ordered volume 2 months ago. It came in about a month ago at this point, I think, and I still haven't read it, which is really frustrating because I know if I sit down for like an hour is probably all it's going to take me to read this, if that, and I do want to. I just haven't gotten around to it. You know what? I'm just going to toss that onto my bed, and I will try to read that after I finish recording this video. Okay. Prince of Song and Sea, I read that last year. Firebird by Juliet Cross, also read that last year. And now I have Bloodsinger, which is the second book in that. So this is a dragon shifter dark romantasy based on the Roman Empire. Basically, it's the Roman Empire if the nobles were all dragon shifters. With the first book, the first book was pretty controversial because it claimed to be a master-slave romance. I'm just gonna be honest. I enjoy a well-done master-slave romance. This one was not a well-done one. I don't think it was worth the controversy because there was no power play. It did not deserve the controversy that it got. This is the second one, which is supposed to be about the sister of the main character, the first one. I haven't started reading it, but I do have it. I think I got this one. Yeah, I went to Barnes & Noble in April, and this was one of the books I picked up like right after it came out, and I just haven't gotten around to it. I've been busy. The Sun and the Star Maker by Rachel Griffin. I believe this one is a YA romantasy. I've seen this one recommended for ages. I think I was getting the author's promotional posts even before it came out. I still have no idea what this one is about, but it's pretty, and I'll be honest, I bought this one because it gives me kind of Jack Frost and Rapunzel vibes, and I am still Jacunzel trash at the end of the day. Like I said, no idea what it's about. I will let you know when I get around to reading it what it ends up being about. This one, Dungeon Crawler Carl. So this one, very different from pretty much everything else on this shelf and on this list. I first found out about this, I think I heard a couple YouTubers talking about it, just casually in passing, and then I watched Read Rant Reviews video about it, and I was like, oh, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. Not my usual thing, but I think I'll give it a try. And then a drama streamer I watch started reading it and talking about it, and he played the Wonder Crawl parody from book 8, I think it is, that was absolutely hilarious, and I've had it stuck in my head for weeks at this point, and I listen to it all the time as well. I know the overall plot of the first one because, like I said, I watched Read Rant Reviews video, but basically aliens turn Earth into a dungeon crawler reality game show, and this guy named Carl ends up in it with his ex-girlfriend's show cat. named Donut. It sounds fun and it sounds kind of pulpy, honestly, and it just sounds like a wild ride. And I just got this when I went to Barnes and Noble last week or the week before, I think it was. Something. I went to Barnes and Noble recently and picked this up. I haven't had a chance to start reading it, but I want to, because this one, like I said, kind of different from everything else on the list, but it sounds like it'll be a fun read. Now, with that one, I've heard that it's the audiobooks that are really popular and that people really enjoy because of the reader's performance. I tried to get my hands on them. I can't afford Audible right now. My library does not have them. I was kind of shocked, which was why when I went to Barnes and Noble, I'm like, okay, I'll just pick up the paperback. But I have to point out, $20 for a paperback. Is that right? Yeah, $20 even for the paperback. I feel like they only get away with that because it's a bestseller and because it's popular. I still paid it, but $20 for that. Publishers are taking advantage. I just know it. Okay, this is The Seventh Sister by M.A. Brown. It was on my video earlier this year. I believe this one is an indie book. I still have no idea what it's about. I'm not taking this one off the shelf because I talked about it a bit in the last one, but okay, I am taking it off. The whole reason I got it was because I really liked the cover art, and is there... Oh my gosh, there's illustrations in here. Okay, so I only just discovered that this is illustrated. There's like 4 or 5 illustrations, each of which she's with a different guy. Did I accidentally pick up a Why Choose? Anyway, The Seventh Sister by M.A. Brown. Still got no idea what it's about. I'll get to it eventually. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I think I bought this one last year. All I know is it's academia, and I want to read it. Again, just time. Wings of Starlight by Alison Shaft. This is one of the Disney Pixie books. What's the first Disney Pixie young adult book about Queen Clarion and Lord Mallory from Tinkerbell and the Secret of the Wings. This is surprisingly light. Yeah, last year I had to fight the scalpers to get my hands on this, and I still haven't read it. This video is going to be a lot of I still haven't read it. Sorry, not sorry. Again, I've been busy. But yes, I want to, and I already have a pre-order on the, what is it, Wings of... What's the second one? I wanted to say that it was Wings of Revelry, which I was gonna say that sounds a bit spicy for Disney. That sounds more like a Love and Deep Space story update. The reason I say that is because we had one Love and Deep Space main story update that was called Long Awaited Revelry, and another one that was called Homecoming Wings. So anyway, no. The second book that comes out this year is Wings of Reverie, about Tinkerbell's twin sister. Periwinkle is her name. Sunrise on the Reaping. I just do not have the brain capacity for the kind of tragedy that is a Hunger Games book. Leave me alone. We're skipping over these. The Conan books, like I said before, read these in the past. These are my Jean Shinoda Bolen psychology books. Goddesses in Every Woman, Gods in Every Man, Goddesses in Older Women. I'm just gonna say, those books saved my life. They might be a bit woo for some people. It's... How do I describe it? It's Jungian analytics through a feminist lens using the Greek gods as archetypes to help understand personality, saved my life and certainly saved my sanity. This is Sarah Celestial Legend, Book 1. I'm not going to talk about that right now because this is actually the second copy of it. The other copy is right here, so we'll get to that. Virgil's Aeneid. This is actually turning more into a bookshelf tour, I guess. Whatever. Virgil's Aeneid, still want to read this. The Odyssey and the Iliad, still want to read these, but they are lower down the list. Okay, now we're getting to something interesting. So, this is The Princess and the Blade by I, Tommy Love, who is a Japanese author, an independent author, and I found this through Instagram, mostly because she started doing reels talking about how she has more than 100 illustrations in this book. I counted at one point, and I think it's closer to like 120, which does also include chapter headers and, let's see, and stuff like this. That was mostly what caught my eye, was just the illustration aspect of it. I know that it's about a princess whose parents are missing and a knight who I assume she falls in love with. I assume. Yeah, so I want to read this one. I only got this one a couple months ago, so I haven't been sitting on this one as long as others, okay? But I do need to get around to reading it, but I'll be honest, mostly I bought it just to see the illustrations and how she incorporated them into the book, and it's very impressive. It's beautifully put together. Currently, I'm struggling with my art, and I'll probably talk about that more in another video, just how difficult that has been for me lately. But yeah, this is beautiful and inspiring to me as a writer and an artist, and it has given me a new understanding of the potential for what books can actually look like. There are two big ones left here. We're going to talk about those in a minute. If you've been following me for a while, you will know what these are. Calidus Chronicles Volumes 1 and 2 by Song W. Erickson. Oh hey, that's me. These are the first two volumes of a fantasy romance series that I started writing in 2020. I released the first volume in 2023, the second one in 2024, and then at the end of 2024, I unpublished them both. In part because I was going through some stuff, and in part because I had realized that I wanted to make some changes to the story overall. Plan was originally to just work on them for a few months, put them out again in early 2025. We're in 2026. That still has not happened. I've edited maybe the first few chapters. Five, six, maybe 7 chapters. No, that, 4, 5, 6. I've edited like the first 6.5 chapters of volume 1, and it's mid-2026 now. So things have not gone the way I wanted, mostly because, did I mention I was going through some stuff? And so I'm still working through some of that stuff. I'm finally feeling confident again as a writer to actually start working on original stuff again once I finish the fan fiction I'm currently working on. Again, more on that in another video. But a couple months ago, I decided to reread the books. And I was pleasantly surprised, because I was like, no, wait, these are actually pretty good. There's still stuff I want to change. So it's like, I wouldn't just re-release them as they are, because there's still some edits I want to make, some stuff I want to add, stuff like that. But it was still a really big deal for me to reread them and to realize that, no, wait, I did a good job. I just know I can do better now. We are on to the last two big things on the shelf. Under the Oak Tree, which I've talked about a bit on this channel recently. I have been following the webcomic for Under the Oak Tree since 2021, I believe. 2021 or 2022 was when I started following the webcomic on the Manta app. And I love that comic. And I was recently reminded of how much I love that comic when I got to binge read most of season 5 to catch up on it a few weeks ago. I did a video doing a kind of beat by beat recap of season 5 so far, and there's a new chapter that went up this morning that I still need to read, but I'm holding off on that as a reward for finishing this video. And now finishing reading volume 2 of Punderworld, I need to get that done, and then I can read Under the Oak Tree, and then I can relax and enjoy my 4th of July, I guess. Try not to doom scroll too much. I have volumes 1, 2, and 3 of the novel. I believe it was like when I recorded my video about season 5 of the manhwa. Have I been calling it a manga? I'm so sorry. No, it's Korean, so it's a manhwa. But the day I recorded that, I was editing the video and I had to go finding cover art for it, which was when I found out that the 3rd novel came out like 3 days later. And that was when I was like, oh yeah, so it has been a few weeks since I went to Barnes & Noble. That's when I was like, you know what? I should just take a trip out to Barnes & Noble to go get that book. And so I did. And I also got volume 1 while I was there, because I already had volume 2. But I didn't have 1 and 3, so now I have those. Volume 4 comes out in November, I believe. So that'll be one of my birthday presents to myself. But yeah, Under the Oak Tree is a romantasy about a young woman named Maximilian in an arranged marriage who, as scared as she is of her husband and everything, the marriage gets her out of her abusive home and away from her abusive father. And so she starts to discover her own potential, as well as falling in love with her husband. Because, like I said, it's a romantasy. So I've read volume 1, haven't read 2 and 3. To be clear, 2 and 3 both came out this year. It seems like they're really upping production for the translation now that it's been successful here in the US. So yeah, I need to read volumes 2 and 3. I also found out that season 5 of the manhwa is in volume 3. I thought the seasons of the manhwa lined up with the volumes. So like I thought volume 1 was season 1, volume 2, season 2. No. Season 5 is in volume 3. This manhwa is gonna take like 20 years. I really need to read the novels. And now that brings us to Sarah's Celestial Legend by Yu Watase, which is a shoujo manga from the 90s, like Red River. This one is about Aya Mikage, who on her 16th birthday, she is exposed to a family ritual that reveals she is a rebirth of a celestial maiden who is her family's ancestor. I described it a lot better in past videos where I talked about this. Ceres was my favorite manga when I was 14, and nothing came close to this for me at the time. And now that I've started rereading it, as an adult, I had no idea what it was talking about half the time. I do now, and I still love this series. I started rereading the series at the end of last year as an ebook through my library, but they only had the first 4 volumes. So it's like, okay, well, if I want to finish reading this, then I'm going to have to buy the whole series. That's when I found out that the series is out of print, both in Japan and the US, apparently. So I had to buy the whole series secondhand. And then I had to pay like $40 for the last volume. So the price I paid for all 14 books is pretty much equal to what I would have paid to get all of them new back in the day. Because the MSRP on these is like $10 a book. And this was 2005, 2006 when they were released in the US. So yeah, I paid a lot of money for these. Have I read them? That is another question. I've read the first 7. So here's the thing. Like I said, at the end of last year, I read the first 4 books on ebook through the library. And I was like, okay, now I need the whole thing. And then I bought the first 13 books in like a set. There was a seller on eBay who was selling all 13, or the first 13 together. So I ordered those and then had to wait for volume 14 because that was the most expensive. Even when I was 14, I know I owned volumes 12, 13, and 14 when I was a teenager. I think I might have had 11 as well. But point is, I am now 34 years old and I have all 14 volumes. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to read the others until I get 14 because I want to sit down and read them all at once. I, for some reason, was convinced I could read 14 volumes in one day. So I set aside a Sunday, and since I was working 6 days a week at the time, which I'm still doing, Sunday was like my one day off where I didn't have to do anything else. So I'm like, I'll set aside a Sunday, read the whole series all at once, and be done. I read 7 volumes. I read the first 7 volumes and loved them just as much as I used to. Whole new understanding of the themes Watase was writing. Yeah, no, absolutely loved them. But then it was getting late, so I had to stop. And that was like June, May, April. That was about 3 months ago at this point. And there's still a part of me in my head where I'm like, oh, well, I should be able to sit down and read the other 7 all at once. And the practical side of my brain knows, don't do that. Read 1 or 2 at a time. I know that. That's sensible. But part of me still wants to read it all at once. I have to work through that. The other thing is, like I said, I finished volume 7. That means the next one is volume 8. Miori. That's her name. I've been trying to remember the character's name. I remember what happens in this volume. I do not like what happens in this volume. And I know I am going to read this volume and get very pissed at a 17-year-old girl. 17-year-old girl is a victim, but that does not justify what she does. Look, this volume was emotionally traumatizing when I was 14, 15, whenever I first read it. And I know I was not okay back then. And I know that even now that I am 34 and I am more mature and I know what fiction is, #justice for Valko, I know what fiction is, and I know that the book cannot hurt me. I know some of those emotions are still going to come back. So part of it is that I've got this weird thing in my brain that I want to read all 7 books at once, and the other part is I'm dreading this volume. Okay, I picked like the worst place to stop at volume 7 because I know what happens in volume 8. Okay, so since this has turned into a bookshelf tour, let me take you out of that and just show you what... see if I can do this by hand. Okay. So, I have the How to Train Your Dragon cookbook here. A book on the language of flowers. I'm just going to rapid fire these ones. This is the Final Fantasy 16 art book. And then Logos, which is the Final Fantasy 16 lore book. This one is still shrink wrapped. I bought it, I think, back in April and still have not read it yet. Haven't even unpacked it. This... oh, I'm glad I'm showing this off, actually. This is the Ceres, the Art of Ceres Celestial Legend, which, of course, goes with the manga. This is a used copy, as you can tell from, like, the dirt streaks on here, which breaks my heart, but there's not much I can do about it. Even so, this thing is beautiful, and, like, I mentioned that I've been having a rough time with my art lately, but having this and looking back at Watase's art, which was so inspiring for me when I first... Yu Watase's art is part of why I started drawing in the first place when I was 14. And obviously I'm just skimming through this to show off some of it. But yeah, no, having this is so inspiring, and it makes me want to draw again, and it reminds me of, like I said, why I started drawing in the first place. There is also an interview with Watase at the back, which is relevant for something I'm going to talk about in a minute. This, Inspiring Walt Disney, the Animation of French Decorative Art, is an art book specifically to go along with a art exhibit from the Met of French antiques and how they inspired, like, Disney princess concept art specifically. Okay, this one is Carlation's Watercolor Pinups. I cannot show this one on YouTube, but it's an art book from Carla Wizgala, I believe is her name, but she's a watercolor pinup artist who does, like, Disney princess burlesque pinups. Love her stuff. Gertie's Charmed Sewing Studio from Gretchen Hirsch, who is a sewing instructor, pattern designer. How do I even explain that? Can't really see it, but this is Cosplay Concepts Volume 1 by Hannah Alexander. And then, this is What If Conan the Barbarian Walked the Earth Today. It is a reprint, but it's an old Marvel comic from the 80s. Part of the What If line. Disney Princess paper dolls. Star Wars paper dolls. More Disney paper dolls. American Girl. Felicity paper dolls. Disney-inspired hairstyles. Make, Sew, and Mend by Bernadette Banner, who is a YouTuber I've been following for a while. 1,000 Pinup Girls. This was just something I picked up from Barnes & Noble. The Fantastic Worlds of Frank Frazetta. Frank Frazetta being one of the grandfathers of fantasy art in the modern day, and a couple other things that I've either already commented on or that don't necessarily need comment. But yeah, that is my bookshelf tour, as well as an update on my 2026 reading list. The video I put out at the beginning of the year, I mentioned that I also want to reread the How to Train Your Dragon series by Cressida Cowell. I have not gotten around to that. I specifically want to get, like, the audiobooks from my library, but every time I get book 2, I think I've checked it out like 5 times this year, but every time I do, I get too busy and haven't been able to listen to it, which is embarrassing because it's like 5 hours long, and I just, I need to try getting it again. Hopefully the whole list isn't as long at this point. But yeah, no, that is my bookshelf. I really need to finish Saris. I've talked about how I really want to talk about Saris on this channel. Like, that is a big thing that I want to do. And at first, I was thinking about doing a big video essay, kind of retrospective, talking about the themes and the characters and yada yada. But I realized that's not the kind of video I make. I'm much more off the cuff, and I don't do well with a script. So I think what I want to do is kind of beat by beat going through the volumes. It would be a few videos, not 14, because I'd do a couple volumes per video, like I said. And that would actually motivate me to finish the series and to just do it a couple volumes at a time without forcing myself to read 7 volumes in one day, because I probably could have done it when I was 15, but it's not happening now. And I had planned to start recording those this week, but stuff happened and I was not able to get a head start on that like I wanted, so I will just have to figure out how to make that work. I don't know what that'll look like right now, but I want to do this soon. And I'm hoping the first one will be out in the next few weeks. I have been trying to record a wrap up to this for like 5 minutes, but the sirens have been almost non-stop. They've finally gone quiet. Okay. Happy 4th of July, I guess. But I've been recording for a while, and this video is already over an hour long. That will get cut down quite a bit because I have to cut out almost 5 minutes of sirens. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you've read any of these books, let me know. If any of them sound interesting to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'll let you know when I actually make some reading progress on any of these. As I said at the beginning, I am Song W. Erickson, and this is my channel where I talk about whatever is on my mind. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please check out some of my others. And until next time, stay safe, take care, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye! If you are interested in following me anywhere else, you can find my social media links in my card listed down below in the description.